Okay, we're going to get started, everybody. Welcome to today's PD Coordinator webinar. I'm Wendy Christensen, and my co-host today is Katie Snow. If you have any issues with technology, go ahead and put a note into the chat pod, and we will try and help you out if you have any audio issues. But if you have any issues that we can't help you with, we want to make sure, go ahead and send an email to pdportal@tamu.edu, and we'll get you some help so that you can start seeing and hearing us as appropriate. All right, we're going to get started and cover our agenda first. First, we're going to go over some TCAL announcements, and then we're going to get updates from the PD centers. We're going to cover some new training, conferences, and statewide events. We're going to do our what's happening with the monthly webinar series and get an update on any test training announcements that we have. Then we're going to wrap up with some PD portal announcements, and then finally have the PD coordinator time where you get to share what it is that's on your mind. So let's start with updates from the professional development centers. First up, we have Joan from Career Pathways PDC. Joan, you want to take over?
Sure thing. Thanks, everyone. First thing I wanted to mention to everyone today is the next session in our Internationally Trained Professionals webinar series. We just got off of the third webinar. It was literally over lunch earlier today, and that was Contextualized ITP Academic and Technical Language Part 1. Well, coming up on November 10th, during the lunch hour, we have Part 2, and we are bringing Claudette's session back. And in this second installment, we will continue to focus on how AEL programs can address the need to equip our ITPs with professional and technical language, the professional and technical level of English required for occupational entry and success. There will be more strategies for upskilling through contextualized, direct, and technology-assisted instruction. And then we'll discuss vocabulary, demonstrate, and get you to experience some hands-on engagement with that. And then I also have the fifth webinar in the series, Walk This Way to ITP Success, which will be on December 8th. Registration for those events is open in the PD portal, and we look forward to seeing you there. And then on the next slide, I have kind of a fun, exciting announcement for you guys. We are bringing Ellen Bax back to Texas. She presented at the Career Pathways Symposium that we had in Fort Worth this past May. So we are bringing her down for some face-to-face workshops, hopefully in an area near you. We will have her in El Paso on November 28th, Houston on November 29th, and in Arlington on November 30th. And these are going to be face-to-face only, hands-on interactive workshops with activities that are aimed to support teachers in delivering lessons that are engaging and meaningful to our ITPs. As an attendee, you will become familiar with a range of activities that engage the existing knowledge of ITPs and will help you, I just lost my place, and will help you make gains in reaching your goals, identify and create career contextualized language development, and how to identify learning activities for both classes with English language learning students of mixed educational backgrounds and classes exclusively serving ITPs. So those classes are coming soon. Keep an eye on your email once we open registration via the PD portal. So that's all I have for today. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Joan.
Joan, I have a question for you. This is Krista.
Yes, ma'am.
These sessions are open to everybody, right? But it's face-to-face only, and there will be a cap on participants, I'm assuming?
That is correct. It is going to be limited seating. We're going to have about 35 seats per session. So if you have someone that's interested in attending, they'll need to register right away before all the seats fill up.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joan. Okay, so next we have announcements from Distance Education, PDC. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. So you've already seen this slide before, but I know each month we have a few new people who weren't here before. So we have an updated Distance Learning Academy 1 face-to-face workshop that is ready to roll out. We're going to be doing that for the first time in November. And so if sometime in the spring your program would like to request that, you can reach out to your PD specialist about that. It is a 6-hour course, and so you want to keep that in mind as you're considering requesting it and considering timing. Next slide. Our big news is that the state has bought digital literacy curriculum for all funded programs across the state. We've bought 2 different curricula, North Star Online Learning and Computer Essentials by Essential Education. We're trying to be very clear about the messaging. So please take note of what I'm about to say and help us get this messaging out to your programs, to your instructors, and to your teams. We have only purchased digital literacy curriculum. We have not purchased anything else. So North Star Online Learning is only digital literacy curriculum. There has been some confusion about Essential Education. We have not purchased Essential Education, everything that it includes for programs. We've only purchased the Computer Essentials Digital Literacy course by Essential Education. So I say only, but that's such a great thing. And we're really excited about being able to offer these 2 curricula for your instructors to use with students, for your students to use in distance learning, so that we can see digital skills increases in our students, which is going to help in so many ways. And we'll go on to the next slide to talk about professional development opportunities regarding this. Oh no, vision, first the vision. Why are we doing this? So if you'll just go ahead and click twice. 1/3 of US workers lack digital skills. 1 in every 3 US workers. We're not just talking about adult ed students. We're talking about the entire US workforce doesn't have the digital skills it needs for today's workplace. And 82% of all middle skills jobs are described as digitally intensive. Middle skills jobs, I had to look that one up. That is jobs that require less than a bachelor's degree. So think about that. That's the kind of the zone that most of our students are in. 82% of the jobs that they might be applying for are digitally intensive. They need digital skills to perform those jobs. Next slide. And we think about all the skills that our students need to be citizens in our digital world these days, and you can just advance all these points. They need digital skills to look at their medical records, to look at their children's school records, to renew their driver's license, to apply for jobs, to apply for, to register to vote. More and more, all of these things are online. And even when they are still available to go stand in a line somewhere, think about the wages they're losing and the childcare they're paying for and the other things if they go in person to do those things instead of doing them online. We want to equip them for these things. Thus, we're buying digital literacy curriculum for everyone, every funded program in the state. Next slide. So we have some PD coming up to learn how to use the first curriculum that we're rolling out, which is North Star. This, we have 3 sessions we're offering: North Star Overview, Getting Started with North Star, and North Star from a Learner's Perspective. Each of those sessions is offered 3 times because we wanted to give people a chance to choose the time of day, the day of the week, knowing that people's schedules vary. So for example, the first one, North Star Overview, it's offered 3 times on the week of October 17th. You've got it Wednesday in the morning, Thursday in the afternoon, and Friday again in the morning. Have your instructors, and especially your DL leads, choose one of those 3 sessions, October 19th, 20, or 21st. Do the same thing again with the next 2 sessions, getting started with North Star and North Star from a learner's perspective. You can register for these through the PD portal. You can go on to the next slide. All right, next slide. We want to remind you that the call center is here for you, and let's just talk about how one adult ed program is integrating the call center into all of their programming. So Liz Bohan, she shared for us at Fall Institute, she has the phone number for the call center in her signature block and on their program website. She emails the number to all students. She put the poster for the call center in camera view behind her for when she's video conferencing with students and instructors. She shares the promotional videos during PD sessions. You guys are all PD coordinators. Share the call center information and the promotional videos during your PD sessions in-house. She encourages the teachers, this is not just for students, this is for you. If you need any technical assistance, if you're struggling to use some new tool, call the call center. And they have really integrated us by adding, like whenever they register new students and they're going to be having classes on Zoom, when they send the Zoom link, they also include the call center information, the website and the phone number. And they've given us a spreadsheet with all their classes, the names of the teachers, and the Zoom links. So if a student has a problem getting into a Zoom class, they call us and they say, I'm in Miss Tracy's class and I can't figure out how to get in. We have the Zoom link at the call center. Boom, we help them get in, and the teacher hasn't had to take valuable time out of teaching to help with a student who's struggling to get into class. Instead, we were able to do that heavy lift for them. Next slide, please. So we want you to make sure that the call center is an essential part of your programming. One more slide. So here's some things you consider, including call center information in your student orientations on your LMS, if you're using Canvas or Google Classroom or Blackboard. In your syllabi, you're supposed to be giving syllabi to every student for every course. Do you have the call center information in there? On your own program's social media or websites, in your email signature, or having your teachers add a slide to their lessons, like at the beginning of the lesson as students are coming in, a slide about the call center, just to keep it in front of people until it becomes normal that they know they can go to the call center for help. And I think that's everything.
Yep. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to go over new training conferences and statewide events. Paula, you are up.
Thank you, Wendy. Howdy, everyone. We have dates for our literacy symposiums now. So it looks like a cluttered screen, but we've got symposiums going from November of 2022 to May of 2023. The Gulf Coast will be online. So registration's free. So I encourage you to tell your folks, as well as your collaborators that are those volunteer AEL programs or CBOs, because registration's free. And if you do a Zoom, everything's free, and you can get PD credit with some great sessions that are presented at these symposiums. December 10th is the Dallas-Fort Worth Symposium. It will be face-to-face in Arlington. And then February 25th, March 4th, April 22nd, and May 19th of 2023 are the remaining literacy symposiums. I think this will be all of them unless Laredo decides to have their symposia again. If they do, I'll put this on my slide at our next PD coordinator webinar. You can find all the detailed information on the link that's at the bottom left, and we'll put that in the chat pod. You go to the Literacy Texas calendar. the website, then go to the calendar option and you can see more details and you can register for these symposiums. And then finally, the Literacy Texas 2023 conference, just put that on your calendar. Registration hasn't started and proposals have not been invited in yet, but it'll be July 31st through August 1st of 2023, which is, by the way, a Monday through Wednesday, a little bit different than this year. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Paula. All right, so we have a chance here. Does anybody have any questions on any topics we've covered so far? So that would be stuff covered by Joan, Michelle, or Paula.
So far in the chat pod, we have some very positive comments about Ellen, the presenter. Let's see. Just a reference that, yes, please let people know that we only have a computer essential education curriculum. Let's see. Great examples of how to incorporate the call center into the program and classes. Agree. And then Carissa just put in the chat pod the 2 websites for Literacy Texas, but also the Texas Distance Ed. So.
Okay. All right. As you think of questions, go ahead and put them in the chat pod and we'll make sure to get to them before we end today. We'll move forward. All right. Monthly webinar series. First one is the Texas AEL Manager Monday. The next one will be next Monday, October 17th from noon to 1. Dr. Rick Alvarado is returning and he'll be discussing the topic of ethics. Title is Understanding Ethics, so hopefully you and your staff can attend. Registration is in the PD portal. After next Monday, the November session will be held on November 14th. And in that one, Dr. Deborah Hargrove and Lori Slayton from TWC will be discussing using distance learning to increase your program MSG. So that'll be an interesting one. And then in December on the 12th, we have Dr. Rick Alvarado returning, Seek Understanding Before Taking Action. And that'll finish up this calendar year. So next month, I'll put in the dates for 2023, but for now, we just have October 17th, November 14th, and December 12th for Manager Monday. And in the portal, we have both the October and the November session will be in the next few days. So hope you can attend. Next up, we have Krista talking about Teacher Tuesday.
Good afternoon, everyone. So November 8th, we have Chandra Joshi and Lori Slayton coming back to talk about the Math Assistance Call Center. This is one of those excellent resources that is not being used to its full extent. So please encourage everybody to join us on November 8th at 12 o'clock. We'll have, like I said, we'll have Chandra and Lori, but they will also have a tutor online to talk about their perspective and also a program leader to give us some best practices. Then on December 13th, we are bringing in the Career Pathways Professional Development Center coming in with Julio Medina and Lupe Schneider, and they're going to be talking about their new construction curriculum that they are going to be sending out soon. This is kind of a sneak peek for what they have been working on for an IET curriculum. So look forward to that one as well.
Okay, I think that's it for Teacher Tuesday, Krista. Thank you. Next, we have Workforce Wednesday. Dr. Escamilla, are you there?
She is here. Thank you, Wendy. A little bit of information about the next 2 upcoming Workforce Wednesdays. On October 19th, which is next week, we have Marcela Santana, and she is providing a session on USA Hello. And this is a wonderful resource available online. She's going to share information on how to find everything we need to know about this website, usahello.org. And it's a free online center for information and education for refugees, asylum seekers, immigrants, and welcoming communities. So come and join, learn how our students can benefit from the USA Hello services and help them thrive, as the title says, USA Hello, find, learn, and thrive, to help with all those many resources that are available. I also have on November 16th, Jacqueline Aguilera, or everybody knows her as Jackie Aguilera, and she's going to be providing the Greening of Workforce Literacy Part 1. And in this part 1 of a 2-part series, she's going to explore the evolving alternative energy market and employment opportunities in alignment with what the U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm calls America's means to energy security. So an introduction to curriculum and resources to integrate environmental literacy into the classroom instruction is going to be provided. So I'm really excited about this because this is not really something that we think about in terms of jobs that are going to be coming up for our students. Next slide, please. And then I just wanted to share, if you see here, October, November, and December, we have some stars upon thars, and these are our last 3 sessions for the year. So I'm excited to share, next slide, that we have our lineup for dates, just like this little jumping man. We're excited about our 2023 dates. So take these down. We could share these in the chat if you would like. And that's all I have. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Olga. All right, so then we have our Tech and Tells, and Krista is covering for Anne Marie.
Yes, Anne Marie is taking some very well-deserved vacation time. So in October of 2022, the Tech and Tell series welcomes back Claudette Session from Region 5, Service Center in Beaumont, Texas. She will present on a free digital tool titled Word Wall. When you see that together, all I can see is Word Wall. It is a 2-part series. So October 21st is part 1. October 28th is part 2. A little bit about Word Wall. It is an interactive, customizable, and free online tool for creating engaging learning activities for face-to-face or virtual ESL, ABE, ASC, and or GED learners. During this 2-part webinar, learn how to create, assign, and host in real time a variety of fun digital standards-based tasks that allow for differentiation and student progress tracking. And then in November, the Tech and Tell webinar series welcomes Carrie Stell from Grayson College as a first-time presenter to the series. TCOL is excited for Carrie to share her passion and knowledge for integrating current and engaging digital tools and resources during direct instruction and lesson planning. The digital resource Carrie will share is no exception. So this one is Pass It On. Part 1 is on November 4th and part 2 on November 11th. And it is so much more than a website brimming with ideas for spreading and providing positivity. Discover a multitude of quotes, videos, billboard images, news stories, and more. These uplifting resources can be used to invite reflection, spark discussions, and accompany lessons on values such as encouragement, persistence, self-worth, teamwork, and respect. During part 2, Carrie will share ideas and practices focused on applying and integrating the passiton.com resources during AEL instruction and lesson activities. And I'm actually very interested in this. We all can use some positivity in our lives. So I'm curious to see how this works. So join us in November. Upcoming Tech and Tell dates. We've already talked about October and November. Then we have one on December 9th. And then January 20th and 27th. And if you know, Anne Marie will have a lot more dates and a lot more exciting Tech and Tells coming up. And then, as always, reach out to us if you have any webinar ideas for the Manager Monday, Teacher Tuesday, Tech Intel, and Workforce Wednesday. And those email addresses are in the chat. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Krista. Katie, do we have any questions in the chat so far?
We do not have any questions. We have a couple of comments. Olga placed the Workforce Wednesday dates for the remaining of the year in the chat. And then we have just the contact information for each of our webinar series there.
Okay.
That's it so far.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll move forward. Tracy.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you, Wendy. We can go to the next slide. I had this slide last month, but it really hasn't changed. We hope to be able to schedule a Texas-style online 11-12 TABE. I missed that word, but TOT this fall. But if you're TABE users, DRC updated their Insight portal a bit. And so we just got a glimpse. Well, Robin and I just got a glimpse at it yesterday. I've reached out to DRC for some assistance because it looks a bit different. So that means we may need to change some screenshots and directions in the TOT. So I don't know how we're going to go with it this fall. If we don't get to it this fall because of the changes that need to be made to the trainings, we will add that to our spring lineup. Everything else is going to be offered in the spring, and we will start working on that calendar schedule pretty soon before the end of the year so that y'all can plan for those in the spring. And in the meantime, if you need a trainer for any of these test administrator trainings and you don't have one, please reach out to your PD specialist and they can send you some names of folks that have said they're willing to train outside their local program. And you can always contact myself or Robin Booth as well if you have any other questions about these things. So that's all I have, believe it or not, for
Okay.
this PD coordinator webinar, Wendy.
Thank you, Tracy. Does anybody have any questions for Tracy before we move forward?
Tracy always has questions, but
That's why I know.
No, it's
Giving
a
him a
very-
minute. I was giving him a minute.
It's a very quiet group today. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I was going to share when we had hoped that the changes in the DRC Insight were going to be very minimal. But when, oh my gosh, when Robin and I looked in there yesterday, some of y'all who use it all the time, it may not be a big deal, but it does look quite different. I thought about crying, but I did not. But anyway, it just means for us changing a lot of screenshots, probably in directions, like I said. So I'm sure y'all will get the hang of it. But for new test administrators, we need to get this in where it needs to be. So when they go in, they have the correct direction. So anyway, that's it. I know this is a quiet group today.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done.
We'll move forward. Thank you, Tracy.
Yes.
All right, Katie, you are up for PD
Oh.
portal stuff.
Awesome, thank you. This month we have 4 courses that have been published into the PD portal. Just as a reminder, these will also show up on your new in the PD portal carousel on your learner homepage. We have Workforce Wednesday, Safeguarding Identity Through Digital Literacy, Tech Intel doing Flips over Flippity, Tech Intel Learn HIP, the HIP new way to create online activities, and then our new Teams trainings overview was just published this week. All right, so the PD portal team has recently had a few requests for certificates of completion for an employee who has been deactivated in the PD portal. So while we are absolutely happy to help with this, we also wanted to show everyone how you can pull these certificates too. So, of course, again, you're able to ask us, but this way may prevent you from having to wait for us to respond. So if you're there is a resource in the Wakelet. It's called Using Admin to Search for Accounts in the, it's a PDF, and I'm going to put it in the chat pod right now, I think. And this resource, if you can follow the steps, whenever you get to the users, you can see on the screen, you would just select all, and then all of those users who you are looking for, who may be deactivated, no longer active in the portal, you can still review their transcript. So check that out. And if you have questions, please let us know, and we are happy to help.
Okay. Thank you, Katie.
Mhm.
Next up, we have Yoli talking about sign-in sheets for live training. Yoli, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, everyone. So please use the sign-in sheets that is loaded in the PD portal for local training. They're found in the resource field. Directions for how to find the sign-in sheets are emailed out the day prior to the training. If you do not receive these directions or are unable to access the sign-in sheets, please email me at yoliver@tamu.edu.
And this is Krista, and what's one thing that we need the PD coordinator to do, and also the trainer, is to make sure that they can see the event in the PD portal when it gets put in. If you can't see your event in the calendar, then you will not be able to get to the sign-in sheets. But the sooner that you check to make sure your event is in the calendar, the sooner we can make sure that everything is connected correctly, so that you can get to these sign-in sheets the day before your training.
Great. Thank you, Yoli and Krista.
Thank you.
All right, Katie, you're back up.
All right. So great news, everyone. All attendance from Fall Institute has been processed and entered into the PD portal. So if you or a staff member on your team are missing certificates, then it is possible that your PD portal user ID was not provided during registration. Please email us at pdportal@tamu.edu if this has happened to you, so that we can look into it further. All right, and I believe this one is mine as well. We are wrapping up the active user audit for the fall. We are waiting currently on just 2 programs, which is pretty phenomenal because we have so many programs and subrecipients. So that is fantastic and great news. In addition to updating hundreds of accounts, we have deactivated about 150 accounts just for inactivity, which means that they haven't logged in within about a year's time. So keep that in mind, keep it in mind that you need to encourage your staff to please log in periodically, just to keep them active. We have a report that we're able to pull on the back end that tells us who hasn't logged in for, let's say, 366 days. And when that's the case, they go ahead and get deactivated. And then typically, or so it seems, is a few days later, they're emailing for their account to be activated again. So if you have any specific questions about the audit of active users, please email myself or Yoli Oliver, and we can get back to you. Please be on the lookout for another audit coming in January of 2023. We really appreciate your cooperation in this process. We know it's time consuming, so thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, Teams announcements. Yoli, we have you coming back to discuss this. Or is it Katie?
That one's all Yoli.
Sorry, that's okay. So for the Fall Institute sessions, having entered in Teams, so be sure to use the TWC as the training provider. Email us at pdportal@tamu.edu if you have any questions or missing sessions. And the titles are all start with Fall Institute and then the title of the session. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Yoli. All
I think I
right.
just have one more.
Okay.
Okay, so Teams Library. This is specific in the PD portal. So it says on November 4th. It is November 4th per our Cornerstone provider. However, at the end of October, it will be going away completely. We have it set up that we'll be removing it manually. So there is a Teams and TWC Technical Assistance Library in the PD portal. Whenever you work in the lab in the library, it does not, you don't receive PD credit for these, but all of these will be deactivated. And this is just something that is going away per Cornerstone. And so we are just trying to push it off at the end of October. Anyone who has this library on your transcript, you've been notified, and no one else is able to request it at this time. So if you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Great. Thank you, Katie. Okay, so we have another opportunity for any questions before we move forward. Anybody have anything to ask? All the way back to Joan.
I don't see anything so far.
Denise is asking something about the Math Center. The Math Assistance Call Center, Denise?
Yes, I'm sorry. I tried to go back and look because I wanted to share that information with students and instructors. But the last thing I had was that it was still through Student Nest and that we needed to have an MOU, but I just wanted to make sure I had the most current information.
There is an MOU.
We'll let Lori, I think
Yeah.
Lori's online, if Lori can verify that information,
Thank you.
but yeah,
I'm not sure. Is she still there?
yeah, maybe not.
This is Veronica.
Oh,
Thank
hey,
you.
Veronica.
How's everyone doing? Yes,
Great.
ma'am, that is correct, Denise, that you would have to have an MOU with the Student Nest Center. And some of those you would just reach out to them on the updates, but if you're looking for the information, you can reach out to your program specialist and we can send that to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Hey, I want to say one more thing. This is Katie. I put something in the chat pod. Keep an eye out for more information about the replacement training for Teams Library. I wasn't sure if that was going to come up, but I forgot to mention it. We are still trying to figure out what we'll be doing for replacement. So we will let you know. So stay tuned to there. There's another question. Are there certificates for virtual sessions at the TWC conference? From TWC conference, are you referring to the Fall Institute? If the Fall Institute, then yes, all of those have been submitted and they are ready to go. So
yes, I attended virtually and I don't have a certificate on my transcript yet.
Okay, so that could be that. Did you enter user ID when you're registering? So what you'll want to do is essentially just email us at pdportal@tamu.edu so that we can look into it, because we'll have to dig up all of the sessions that you attended and look to see what data we have. I'll put our email back in the chat pod for you.
Krista just did it for you, Katie. She did it.
So fast. Okay, perfect.
So essentially, Katie, if they're missing a certificate in the portal that they were expecting to see for Fall Institute, send an email to PD Portal.
Yes, that is exactly what to do. We have a few people who have already reached out just because their user ID wasn't entered. And so when their user ID wasn't entered, it was a signal that they did not need PD credit. And so that is the case. But we can do some digging. It'll just take us a little bit more time. So shoot us an email with that information and we'll check into it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Katie. Olga's asking provide details. In what way, Olga? I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm not following either.
Oh, provide details in the email. What are you looking for in the email, Katie, when they email you?
I mean, honestly, we just need their name and that they attended, and then we can have a conversation on the rest of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right. Do you need the session titles in the email?
We would eventually, but at this point, we just need, if there's an issue, just have them reach out to us and we can ask those detailed questions that are needed.
Well, it will help if they have the session titles also and the
Sure.
dates so that we can look into it.
A little faster.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's all I'm seeing in the chat for now. Okay, if you think of anything else, just put in the chat and we'll address it before we end today. But for now, we'll move forward. And this is PD coordinator time with Krista.
Hi, again. So first slide, PD plan is due Saturday, October 15th, which means probably tomorrow, unless you're working on Saturday to get it in. You should be working with your PD specialist. And if you need any assistance in this last push, please contact your PD specialist and we will help you get this document turned into TWC. Next slide. We thought we'd take a minute and just review requesting training. When you are deciding that you want a training for your program, just a couple of questions to ask yourself. Is there documented need for the training? Is there support for the training through your local or statewide needs assessment data? Training part of your PD plan. Remember, your PD plan is supposed to drive your professional development for the program year. And is the training a tier 1 or tier 2? And if you need more info about tier 1 or tier 2, put it in the chat pod and I'll be happy to explain the two. After that, the PD coordinator completes the PD session request form and submits that to the PD specialist at least 20 business days in advance of the requested training dates. Sometimes we can work magic and make things happen faster, but we really, really need it 20 business days or earlier. As soon as you know you want a session, let us know. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide. This is the PD session request form. Everybody should have this. And I'm not going to go through everything, but you have the name of your event. But the one part that I wanted to focus on was the preferred trainer. If you have a trainer that you would like to use, please put that in there. But it is not guaranteed. And then the description of the training session is the description that you get from the PD portal. And then just filling out the rest of this information. If it's a face-to-face, we need training location and building and room numbers and a training contact. If it's going to be virtual, just mark that so that we can make sure that we are processing the request correctly. And your PD specialist will work with you hand in hand to make this request happen. All right, go ahead and do the next slide. Now, there have been a lot of changes with the PD coordinators lately. So one of the things on that program request form is a drop down for PD coordinators' names. Your name may not be there if you are fairly new. I am waiting on about 3 more updated names before I get this form updated and sent out. It's more than just a couple of clicks to get the forms updated. So please be patient. There is a place for you to put your name and your email on the form, but I promise we will get this updated as soon as I get just a couple more information from programs. And then the last thing is again, continuing with the requesting training, is that the PD specialist secures a trainer. We get the event logistics and approval for the training event. Then the event is created in the PD portal for registration. We do ask that for programs to not contact trainers before you've actually talked to your PD specialist. It's much easier, and as part of our process that the PD specialist contacts the trainers and contracts with them for if you're doing a tier 2. Now, if you're doing it as a local training, that's a whole different story. If you're just doing a local training, reaching out to a trainer that you're paying for, that's great. Otherwise, please work with your PD specialist and let us secure and contact the trainer. It really helps with our processing. So those are my things for today. And is there any questions? Are there any questions of what I just talked about or through the whole PD coordinators webinar, or anything that you have any questions about just on your mind right now? I'll give you a few minutes to type questions or unmute.
Nothing so far.
Hi, this is Sandy.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you show the slide again with the new trainings that I believe Katie went over, please? I was trying to take a picture and missed it.
You bet.
Thank you.
This one?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, that was it. Thank you.
Are you done or are you still snapping a picture?
I'm still snapping. If you don't
Okay.
mind waiting just a second, I had to
No
get to my
problem.
mute.
I don't know how quick you are.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you.
silly lady.
Well, if nobody has any questions, that's great. Go ahead and go to the next one. Our next PD coordinator session will be November 10th. So be here at 2:00 on November 10th. And as always, you may email me with any questions or concerns that you have.
Great. Thank you, Krista. That pretty much is going to wrap us up for today. The next PD coordinator webinar, mark your calendars, November 10th. November 10th. And we are giving you some time back in your day. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great afternoon.